Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Palm Sunday edition of Weekend Central. It's coming to you live from the news hub here at Adisawe Kanda on Facebook. We're live on TV3 Ghana on DSTV channel 279. My name is Josh Queenan.
And I am Judith Brown. Coming up in the headlines this afternoon. President Mahama reiterates commitment to transforming agriculture with launch of Feed Ghana program in the Bono East region.
Pen Plus Byte, a non-profit organization, calls for review of Ghana's legal framework to tackle misinformation and disinformation.
Plus, Roads and Highways Minister pledges strict compliance with competitive bidding in award of contracts.
Well, this is Weekend Central. You can get interactive with us. We're live on Facebook, TV3 Ghana. Engage us with your comments and opinions. On to our very first story. As part of efforts to boost Ghana's agricultural sector and ensure food security, the government has launched the Feed Ghana program in the Bono East region. Speaking at the launch in Techiman on Saturday, April 12, President John Dramani Mahama reiterated his commitment to transforming Ghana's agricultural sector. Take a listen.
Feed Ghana program aligns with government's overarching goal of securing the future of agriculture. The launch signals a new chapter for the agricultural potential of the region. In his keynote address, the president underscored the critical importance of agriculture to Ghana's socio-economic development.
Our current food import bill is reported to stand at an alarming $2 billion annually. Agro-industries operate far below capacity, and although inflation has dropped from a high level of 54% in 2022, it still hovers at above 22% today. The main driver of this inflation index is the food basket. In this spirit, my government is rolling out the Feed Ghana program under the broader theme of Agriculture for Economic Transformation Agenda, AETA. This is a comprehensive vision to modernize and expand agriculture, to create jobs, reduce food inflation, and strengthen food security.
The president also provided a detailed overview of the Feed Ghana program's key components, stressing that the initiative would build on past efforts by adopting a more integrated and sustainable approach to agriculture.
The key interventions under the Feed Ghana program are as follows. And the first is the promotion of smart agriculture. We'll establish farmer service centers nationwide to provide mechanization services, quality inputs, finance, market access, primary processing, and training for our farmers. In addition, we'll create farm banks or land banks in designated irrigable zones to support young agri-entrepreneurs and enhance national food production.
The Bono East region, known for its fertile land and substantial agricultural output, produces significant quantities of yam, maize, cassava, cocoyam, rice, plantains, and beans. Its selection as the launch site makes a strategic location to spearhead the national initiative. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Bono East region.
Now, there will be no priority for single-source road projects under the current dispensation, as there will be strict compliance to terms of competitive bidding. Roads Minister has served notice as he affirms that the scarce resources will not be misused in doling out sole-sourced contracts. Meanwhile, the overlord of Babon, Yana Abukari II, has lauded the president's big push agenda to open up parts of the country that remain immoderable.
The roads minister and his entourage first paid a courtesy call on the Ndayana
the overlord of Dagon, Na Abukari II. Of major concern to the overlord is the quality of road recently constructed in parts of the country. While not limiting himself to any specific demands on roads to be constructed, the Ndayana expressed confidence in the ambitious infrastructure projects of the president.
We acknowledge the government's desire to fast-track infrastructural development, particularly with regards to the big push. The agenda of the government, when properly executed, will transform our transportation landscape. We look forward to collaborating with your ministry to drive economic growth and connectivity. Most roads become bumpy and uncomfortable to drive after expensive repairs have been carried out on them. Honourable Minister, all these have to look into if you want to leave a lasting legacy after you leave office.
Major roads in the northern region, despite the double year of roads by the previous administration, continue to be a major headache for commuters as they remain immotorable. The agenda of the current administration, led by its road minister, Kwame Govin-Sakboja, is to focus on the most important roads that will open up trade and make commuting easier for people.
He wants me to announce to you that he is considering an ambitious project called the Tamale Outer Ring Project, which is part of the Big Push project, which would significantly improve road network within and around Tamale, in addition to other projects that are ongoing, which he intends to continue and complete.
He later inspected the progress of work on the new Bewa Palace under construction, where he made a significant contribution. The minister then proceeded to the Dakar Bridge, which is part of the Tamale-Yende-Tatali Road Infrastructure Project. It is a project which approved a facility of $150 million in 2017 from sponsorship from the World Bank. The scope encompasses some 168 kilometers pavement reconstruction and upgrading, major drainage improvement, fiber optics on the entire stretch, among others. There are 2 lots, all constructed by Chinese firms.
Technical people agree that the way forward is to be competitive in terms of the way we award jobs. I'm not saying you cannot award projects using sole sourcing or restricted tendering, but the order of the day should be that as much as possible, it should be competitive. It brings the best out of the contractors, and then it gives better value to the country.
There's a further appeal from the minister to the World Bank.
Those that they did with just gravel finishing, and I think that may not last. And we are appealing to the bank to consider helping us seal them, then we can preserve the investment.
Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Yendi.
Well, away from roads, let's delve into education, because reports of student unrest, vandalism, substance abuse and violent clashes in senior high schools have raised serious questions about the state of discipline in our educational institutions. The Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, recently assured school heads that they have the government support to stem the tide. Our Bono Regional Correspondent, Claude Kumi Ebisa, has filed this report. Well, we'll bring you this story in a subsequent bulletin. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the Palm Sunday edition of Weekend Central. In other news this afternoon, the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced that President John Dramani Mahama has granted exemptions to academia from the recent suspension on post-retirement contracts. The suspension, which affects retired public servants aged 60 and above, according to the minister, does not apply to faculty and non-faculty members in the education sector. Take a listen.
The President has taken a major decision on post-retirement contract of appointments to public service, and for retired public servants who has attained the age of 60, with a new strong government position not to grant post-retirement contracts. The essence of this briefing is to assure the men and women in academia that they are not affected by this decision, and therefore faculty and faculty members be assured that they are exempt from this directive. and for their purposes, they will go through their councils, the public service and appropriate institution where necessary for those approvals to be granted.
For inclusion of penalties in legislative laws for politicians who engage in negative propaganda aimed at smearing the character and reputations of individuals. The goal is to curb the spread of misinformation and prevent unwarranted or baseless attacks on individuals.
The use of propaganda in Ghana is often associated with politicians from various political parties who employ it as a tactic to discredit their opponent. The practice heightens more during election years. For instance, in 2016, during the heat of the campaign, former President John Agyekum Kufuor took aim at President Mahama, arguing strongly a vote for him then would result in the collapse of the country. 9 years on, the once vilified John Mahama is back at the Jubilee House in an overwhelming manner never before seen in the Fourth Republic. The former one-term president is now seen as a savior of the country. But President Mahama himself is a victim of name-calling.
We need somebody who's reliable, whose word can be trusted, who is consistent, and who is clear-minded.
I will not elevate him to my level and go and sit and debate him.
Head of the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, Professor Ali Duseidu, says the act has come to stay. While acknowledging propaganda is frequently used negatively, he argues that it also has some benefits.
It has been employed discreetly or even overtly to achieve any of these objectives. And we accept it as part of the day-to-day political discourse. And it's not just in Ghana, it's used internationally. At some point in time, as part of the national executives of the NDC, was a propaganda secretary. So the party had a position for that particular role because it's so essential to the discourse of government business. It is a way people with political authority seeks to portray their ideas and achievements and proposals in a manner that will be accepted by everyone.
Political communication analyst Dr. Tutu Boahen stressed the need for a change in behavior since the act of propaganda has a long-standing psychological effect on individuals.
It has a psychological effect. If it is used wrongly, it creates a kind of perception that can damage, the other side of the divide permanently, or for a long time. And if it is used in the positive light, it could also, enforce, the brand image and brand values. I remember in the 2000 elections, the late President Ivan Satamels was branded as a poodle of Rawlings, and that equally affected the late President Mills negatively.
Some people are also of the view political deceit has become the order of the day.
Propaganda, as we see it, has misled a lot because it's difficult for the ordinary Ghanaian to decipher or separate the lie from the truth.
Sometimes they resort to a lot of lies, and there are some people that actually believe certain political figures.
It goes a long way to put the citizenry in confusion.
With the concerns rife, Professor Ali Duseidu wants legislative measures to penalize individuals who are caught engaging in reckless practices.
I think one of the things that can help us do it is this element of education. I know extreme partisanship is a disease, but at least when we constantly remind people, and make sure that there are legislations that govern, even if the laws exist, we should enforce them. And then when people begin to see the consequence of recklessness, then they'll begin to do something about it.
Ghanaians love their politics, but in between the love is also a demand for some decorum. As to whether new laws can bring that, time will tell.
Now, although government's flagship 24-hour economy policy is yet to be officially rolled out, Ghana is already witnessing a quiet revolution in how public services are delivered, with some state agencies piloting the policy. But the big question remains, is the country ready for a full-scale 24-hour shift system. Deborah Abba-Mensah spent a day with these agencies to see how the service has been running over the past month.
The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority and the Ghana Publishing Company Limited are two state institutions piloting the 24-hour economic policy, offering services beyond the traditional 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. schedule. The move, although ahead of the official policy launch, has sparked conversations about productivity, infrastructure and labor capacity in a country still adjusting to new working realities. For the Chief Executive Officer of DVLA, Julius Nekwe-Korte, the decision to adopt the 24-hour shift system was driven by the need to reduce congestion and improve customer service.
We are having about 2 years backlog printing of license. I was told we were owing the supplier heavily. I got some workers, especially the guys, to do it. So I divided them into 3, 8 hours with additional incentives. I have also written to the 24-hour secretariat so we can know how they will also help us.
Under the new system, staff are grouped into 3 8-hour shifts. The extended hours have not only improved operational efficiency, but also created new employment opportunities.
We got some contract staff to join our people. I'm happy to know that I think on Monday they started working. And it's all around the country, not only in Greater Accra.
Some of the young people who have gained employment at the DVLA through this initiative also shared their experiences.
This 24-hour economy came and it has also granted to me a job that I'm working. We're working as a team together to solve problems about the cards and getting onto or meeting our target.
It is something that now you will not just stay in the house, but as you come to the work end, every month you get something on your table. So it is something that they should extend for us, those that were not having nothing to do in the house, so that we could also get something for ourselves and for our family also.
The managing director of the Ghana Publishing Company, Nanotechnology, noted that the company previously took up to 7 weeks to process Gazette publications. But that time frame has now been significantly reduced due to the 24-hour system.
It used to take 7 weeks to get a Gazette done. Now it takes us 3 weeks to get a Gazette done. And so we had a package called Premium Gazette, which took a week. Now it takes 3 days. And we have introduced a 24-hour Premium Plus. So if you want a Gazette, instead of waiting 7 weeks prior, now you can get it within 24 hours.
He urged local writers to take advantage of the now fully operational shift system.
Now the Ghana Publishing Company is doing a 24-hour system. We are very efficient. We have the capacity to produce all the quality that you require.
Even though gaps still exist, the management of both companies remain hopeful that the immediate implementation of the national policy will help address them. As the nation moves towards a 24-hour economy, these early adopters are teaching us valuable lessons in productivity and customer satisfaction. But the bigger picture goes beyond convenience. At its core, the 24-hour economy is about job creation, enhanced productivity, and building a resilient, thriving economy. The journey is underway, and tonight reminds us that meaningful change begins with those bold enough to lead. Deborah Abba-Mensah, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, in other news, stakeholders in the field of communication are championing for review of the Criminal Offences Act to effectively address misinformation and disinformation. Research findings by Pen Plus Bytes expose the weak sanctions meted out to culprits and how it is leading to increased rates of misinformation in the system.
The multi-stakeholder conference brought together key voices including media professionals, civil society groups, legal experts, and educators, each contributing insight on how best to strike a balance between regulation and freedom of expression. Minister of State for Public Sector Reforms, Lydia Lamisi Akanvariba, underscored government's commitment to safeguarding public trust in information.
We are actually committed to fight misinformation and disinformation. And this morning, I will be calling upon my colleague minister so that we have a meeting so that we discuss what are the gaps that we need to fill so that this issue doesn't affect us as a country. Because a little misinformation put up there can derail our thriving democracy.
Per the latest research findings by Pen Plus Byte, there is the need to bridge the gap between existing laws and their real-world application, ensuring that policies around misinformation are not only well-crafted but effectively enforced. Head of the Department of Communication Studies at the University of Ghana, Abena Enimwa Yabuabanin, expressed concern about outdated criminal offences, emphasizing the need to update it to reflect modern context. Executive Director of Pen Plus Byte, Jerry Sam, called for long-term solutions, stressing that Ghana's education system must incorporate media and information literacy into school curricula.
Over the years, we've done a lot of work around information integrity. Of course, there are a lot of work being done around fact-checking, which is, obviously very important because we need, counter information. We need credible information, and fact-checking, does that. Media and information literacy becomes part and parcel of our children's training. If possible, can we have it even in the curriculum as a standalone subject, merge it with social studies, even civic education?
As part of the discussions, recommendations were made for stakeholders to collaborate on developing clear national guidelines that will not only define the scope, but also clarify the terms of use for certain legal provisions.
Let's still stay on this subject matter. As the Minister of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nete George, has assured that the bill that seeks to address the issue of misinformation and disinformation will soon be sent to Parliament for debate and approval. He, however, clarified that the bill does not cover criticisms of the government. He spoke exclusively to my colleague, Roland Walker, on the day.
We would lay this bill on misinformation and disinformation. As we speak, I have designated a team within my cybersecurity authority to focus on building digital dossiers of particular accounts and individuals who have decided to become purveyors of mis and disinformation. We're building the dossiers. We do not want to go to court or start any law enforcement action without having solid basis in law. And so, like I keep saying, be mindful what you post. And I'm not saying we're not interested, and the law will be very clear. And that's why I'm bringing it to Parliament, for Parliament to debate it and accept it and pass it. This is not a law that's going to be looking at criticism. No. I don't care how scathing the criticism is. It's a freedom of expression. But when it moves from criticism and then moves into pure disinformation, pure misinformation, peddling of fake news, altering of data and putting it out, clearly that's not a freedom. That's an abuse of a platform, and the law would work and clamp down on it. So the night is almost over. Dawn is about to break. We will enforce the law firmly and rigorously on anyone who is engaged in fake news, irrespective of your political color. Let me be quick to announce that. Irrespective of your political color, if you engage in misinformation or disinformation and the peddling of fake news, the law will deal with you.
Yeah.
Now, the rains have set in and many communities are risking flooding and possibly disease outbreaks due to poor sanitation conditions. Many areas within the Greater Accra region have gained notoriety for poor sanitation practices, which leads to flooding almost every time it rains. Sarah Penkro visits some communities and reports on their preparation towards the rains.
Residents within the Nima and Kanda enclave in Accra are no strangers to perennial flooding whenever the rains set in. Gutters across these communities remain choked with refuse as residents lament the lack of proper dumping sites, leaving them with little choice but to dispose of waste directly into the drains.
We don't have a container in the whole area, so where should we dump the refuse? We are the culprits and no one else. Even my household and I, we all dump into the gutter.
Amanfo S4 omubola efrifia anajo no mu dia begu gutter num yaka omuntie.
People dump indiscriminately. They don't even listen when you complain. Government should bring people to watch guard over the gutter.
Rukia says she's always anxious when the rains begin. Her shop is never spared from the flood waters.
We have some, we call it container, that's where they dump the rubbish. It's at the front there, but I think it's only one that is serving the whole of this our neighborhood. So I'm thinking if they can get us another one. Anytime that it rains, water enters there. Yes. So I think it's a major problem. It's a major problem. They should look into it and help us.
Environmental health officers at the Ayawaso East Municipal Assembly say they are not oblivious of these concerns.
Assembly is working hard to put in place the facilities to keep those situations. The officers do embark on routine inspection and the sensitization. So with that, they can remind the community members of the challenges associated with their practices in terms of how they manage their waste and the effect on the community.
The onset of the rainy season often brings with it a heightened risk of waterborne diseases, particularly cholera. Flooding contaminates water sources with sewage and waste, creating the perfect conditions for the bacteria that cause cholera to spread. Ghana recorded its first cholera case in the Greater Accra region through contaminated food, raising fresh concerns as the rains approach. Accra Metro, Adan East, Ablekuma Central, Ga South, and Weja Gbawe currently rank among the top 5 districts in the region with the highest number of cholera cases as of February 25.
This time, our focus is zero cholera for this rainy season. And to achieve this, we need all hands on deck in this rainy season. We don't want to go back to what we experienced in November, December, January. We should remember that even if it is one death, if it is your family or your relative, you understand the impact.
The Greater Accra Regional Health Directorate is urging stronger public messaging and the promotion of hygienic practices across communities.
When you are not sure of what message to give to the public, open up for information, the authentic information to give to the public. Because wrong message given to the public can cause a lot of harm. Reversing it will be very difficult.
Since the outbreak began in parts of the country last August, a total of 6,145 suspected cases have been reported, with 719 confirmed and 49 lives lost. Officials say the key to halting the spread of cholera lives in proper sanitation, community action, and responsible waste management. Sarah Penkro, TV3 News, Accra.
As the rainy season sets in, fears of devastating floods emerge once again. This year, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, says it is taking proactive measures to address any potential flooding situation. In a soon-to-air interview on hot issues with Kemini Amano, the Director General of NADMO, Dr. Joseph Kuyon, reveals that his team is working with other agencies and local authorities to prevent major floods.
To ensure that these things, as much as possible, will work to prevent it. And if it does happen, it should be on a smaller scale. So we are working as an organization. We are not waiting until it happens before we act.
I see. And so your promise to the Ghanaian people is that when we reach the peak of the season and there are even floods, it wouldn't be as bad as before?
I don't want to say it won't be as bad as before, because I will be saying things that I have not seen.
Then you don't trust your preparedness?
I trust our preparedness, but the situation is every year comes with its development. For instance, if we have been told that there will be more rain than usual, then what you have experienced maybe last year, last 2 years may not apply this year. All we have to do is to activate all the preparedness plans that we have. Like I've said, we dredge, we desilt, we make sure machines are put ready, we make sure staff are concentrated and prepared to react swiftly. We also make sure that our interagency working group, for instance, other institutions that have work to do with NADMO to ensure that these things are effectively done. The engineers, the armed forces, engineer corps, fire service, police, even Ghana Electricity Company, because when it rains, electricity also comes into it. And then NADMO has to combat it with the Ghana Electricity Company. And so other agencies are coordinated to ensure that reaction time is swift. We don't wait, then it happens, you don't know which officer to call in Ghana Armed Forces.
I see.
We are already
I mean, how swift will that reaction time be?
Because we are in touch and we know which officer to call in which organization, it will be easier doing that when the situation occurs. But if you don't have identified people to deal with, then it becomes difficult for you because you are now looking at calling maybe the operation center, they are looking who is responsible to react. It's going to take some time.
Well, I'll join my colleague Kemini Amwano at 2 p.m. on Hot Issues for the full interview. That takes us to our first break. Stay with us. We're back with more news.
Yet abandoned community health planning and services compound in Esutia has forced residents to travel more than 4 miles to access health care. Now, the facility constructed during President Mahama's first term in office has been left to deteriorate without ever being put to use. Correspondent Belinda Tete has filed this report.
The CHIPS compound was intended to bring healthcare closer to residents of Esutia, a community already deprived of basic social amenities such as proper roads and infrastructure. But 8 years after its commissioning, the facility has been left to crumble, unused and forgotten.
It was built by the NDC government, and since NPP took over, there is nothing they have done about it.
Frederick Donko recounts how he tragically lost his sister and 2 sons due to the lack of access to timely medical care. He believes their life could have been saved if the facility has been in operation.
It really affects us a lot because due to that, I personally have lost one of my sons and 2 boys also in addition. Let me say she fell sick and the other guy too, and one was snake bite. So let me say they are 3 in number. You suppose, yes. So he's supposing we have, let me say, doctors here, or those who will take care of us here. I don't think something like that could have happened, because we should have gotten the first aid, you see. But because there is nothing like that, we lost all of them.
He's pleading with government to, as a matter of urgency, operationalize the CHIPS compound so it can serve the purpose for which it was built.
It was done or built by the NDC government, and by the grace of God, they are in power now. So we want to appeal to them for them to come and continue, or to make sure that things are in order. Because since NPP took over, they didn't do anything about it. So that is why we always pray for the NDC, because we know NDC is the party that takes care that really concerned about the villages or the rural distant communities. That is what I would say. So we want them to come in our aid so that at least if we have one doctor or one nurse here, I think it will help us a lot.
Healthcare is not a privilege, it is a right. The continued abandonment of the Esutia CHIPS compound puts life in danger every day. Authorities must rise above bureaucracy and political cycles to prioritize the health and well-being of citizens. The people of Esutia deserves better. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Esutia, Bono East Radio.
Well, let's still stay on health. As a former presidential advisor on health, Dr. Anthony Nsiah-Asare has called for a deliberate attempt to enhance private sector participation to improve Ghana's health systems. He says a collaboration between private and public sectors can help expand access, increase range of services, and better health outcomes.
The public health system in Ghana has had its own limitations over the years, including inadequate equipment and poor facility management. According to a former presidential advisor on health, Dr. Nsiah-Asare, the involvement of the private sector will supplement healthcare effort by the government and make the country a health tourism hub.
We believe that a private sector is the engine of growth, and we need a private sector to join the public sector to improve the health systems of this country, to achieve quality universal health coverage. The private sector in this country is very, very important. So I'm very happy that we've come together today. We've been looking at the health systems in the country and then how we can position ourselves as a country to become the medical tourism hub of the sub-region.
Following the experiences and challenges the country faced during recent pandemics, the Ghana Health Market Tour held in Accra brought together experts to discuss ways to improve health delivery. Some participants shared their experiences.
This has been an excellent conference, an excellent market tour, and I've gotten a chance to meet several people in various sectors, particularly in healthcare, And I have found that there are endless opportunities for companies engaged in healthcare and how we can advance healthcare here in Ghana, but not just here in Ghana, across the entire continent.
It's been quite exciting and interesting for me. 2 days of market tour, going to visit the health practitioners and health service delivery partners in the country, just so to understand the market a lot more.
With conventional silicon solar panels often out of reach for many Ghanaians, a leading scientist at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor Nathaniel Owusu-Boadi, has stressed the need to tap into nanotechnology's potential to slash costs and expand energy access, particularly for off-grid communities, delivering his inaugural professional lecture titled Toward Accessible Green Energy for All, Harnessing the Power of the Invincible Giants. The research scientists outlined a roadmap for leveraging nanomaterials to revolutionize solar power, energy storage, and smart technology across Africa.
Ghana, through the Ministry of Finance and the newly created Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, along with private sector leaders, must commit immediate and substantial funding to support research and development in nanomaterial applications for energy, ensuring the country remains at the forefront of technological innovation. Regulatory agencies, including the Environmental Protection Authority and the Ghana Standards Authority, must urgently establish and enforce science-based safety standards for the production, use, and disposal of nanomaterials. The Ministry of Science and Technology, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, academic institutions, and industry stakeholders, should establish a National Nanotechnology Research Center and develop streamlined technology transfer programs to accelerate the commercialization of homegrown nanotech solutions for Ghana's energy challenges. For the millions across Africa still in darkness, for the children studying by candlelight, and for the clinics struggling to power life-saving equipment, access to clean, affordable electricity is not just about technology.
Well, let's bring you our earlier story where reports of student unrest, vandalism, substance abuse, and violent clashes in senior high schools have raised serious questions about the state of discipline in our educational institutions. The Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, recently assured school heads that they have the government's support to stem the tide. Our Bono regional correspondent, Claude Kumi-Abisa, has filed this report.
Over the past few years, there have been a surge in cases of student misconduct in senior high schools. On February 12, 2025, a teacher at Esuosu SHS was stabbed in the eye by a student. On February 23, 2025, students of Sokode Senior High Technical School and some local youth clashed, leading to the temporary closure of the school. Then on February 27, 2025, students of Christian Methodist SHS at New Aplaku in the Greater Accra region clashed with locals over an alleged theft. The latest incident occurred on April 4, 2025 at Seventh-day Adventist SHS in Bantama, where a student accidentally shot 2 peers, leaving one critically injured. As national calls intensify for tighter security in schools, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu says school authorities have the full backing of the ministry and the government to implement necessary measures to protect both students and teachers.
When I heard about the shooting incident in Kumasi, my immediate response was, this is un-Ghanaian. This is not Ghanaian, but it has happened in Ghana. The Director General of GES have issued some directives and instructions. So in respect of the un-Ghanaian development of shooting in Kumasi, the Director General of the GES has the full support of government for you to strengthen your inspections in order that guns, knives, and other violent tools and equipment are not found in our schools, you have the full support of government to initiate those inspections at the weekend. We have to nip it in the bud as early as possible and as practically as possible, in order that we allow for a serene studying environment. This cannot be part of the training of a Ghanaian child. That is immoral, that is violent, that is not Ghanaian culture.
For the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Thomas Tanko Musa, the implementation of the existing rules has been a challenge.
Currently, the Ghana Education Service has a code in place, and that particular code determines how the staff should behave, or the things that the staff must do and the things that they must not do. Let us all remember the code is an aspect of the corporate governance, and the key requirement of corporate governance is accountability. And so we all will have to sit down to see how best what the minister has said, the aspect of the code that must be reviewed. Let us all look at it and we have it reviewed.
The Acting Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Ernest Kofi Davis, at a stakeholders forum in Sunyani, reaffirmed the GES commitment to the government's review, reflect and reset agenda.
The current upsurge in school violence, including gun culture and other acts of indiscipline, calls for the urgent need for our service to look into our current practices, that is, review, reflect, and make the necessary changes, that is, reset, to move our education system forward.
In an interview with TV3, Master of Odumasiman Senior High School, Daniel Nsian Adobasum, expressed concern over the growing wave of violence and indiscipline in schools.
Moral decadence are very prevalent in our schools. These days, some of our students even do it openly with impunity. In fact, in my school, we are open to a number of them, but as managers, we have put some measures in place, especially in the night. We have a joint staff task force with school cadets, and we are monitoring them. Our security men are also doing their part at the main entrance, and we are insisting that any student who falters is given a bit of some work to do to serve as a deterrent. Those whose behavior is very serious and might lead to others copying, we will give them indefinite suspension.
Some students of the school also spoke about the importance of ensuring discipline in schools.
Although there are rules, but if the rules are not effectively applied on the students, they will continue to behave the way they want. But when the rules are being enforced, anyone who falls victim to the law must what? Pay a debt to that.
They should concentrate on their lesson. That's the main reason why they're in school. When you go home, we have a lot of opportunities to do. In school, we have a short period. Sometimes we just come here and spend 2 months, 3 months. So when you put these things in your head, it won't help you to focus on your lesson.
Some parents commended the education minister for empowering school authorities to institute and enforce disciplinary measures.
If educationists or school managers are emasculated, the power is taken out of them and just watch children grow, excuse my language, like animals. It's a crime. If you're teaching a child, then you cannot model the child to become what they should be. Then what's the use of a teacher? You may as well then send robots to the classroom to teach the children so that they grow up to become machines. So I commend the education minister for empowering school authorities to institute discipline and all the mechanisms that will help children shape up.
The issue of indiscipline in our senior high schools require urgent attention from all stakeholders, including government, educators, parents, and students themselves. The future of Ghana's education system depends on restoring indiscipline while addressing the root causes
of student unrest. Claude Komi Ebisa, TV3 News, Sunyani.
You're still watching Weekend Central. We'll go for a short break. When we're back, we have more news. Don't go away.
You're still watching Weekend Central here on TV3. We are live on DSTV channel 279. And now, the Trades Union Congress, TUC, has announced plans to engage government in efforts to secure dedicated funding for caterers working in public health institutions. The TUC contends that this move is aimed at improving working conditions and ensuring better remuneration for the caterers.
Caterers working in public health institutions across the country continue to face numerous challenges, ranging from the fire hazards in the workplace to concerns over food safety and hygiene. Unsafe food handling practices remain a persistent issue, making their work environment even more difficult. One of the major concerns for these caterers is a lack of support after retirement, with many left vulnerable due to inadequate welfare structures. Support from the government and health institutions has also been limited, further compounding their struggles. In a bid to address these issues, the caterers have come together to form a union known as the Health Facilities and Health Training Institutions Caterers Association. The newly formed association is led by its president, Nicolina Mauli.
To the welfare issues of our members, especially towards their retirement. Yeah, because our industry is a very difficult one, I will say. We are exposed to fire, a lot of risk, and sometimes you work and you are going home. Some have health challenges due to the heat we are exposed to. So we want to see how best we can liaise with the authorities to help us, so that as we are retiring, you won't retire and go home and die, but you can still have a fruitful life from there.
At an event in Accra, to mark the association's official affiliation with the Health Services Workers Union, the General Secretary of the Health Services Workers Union, Franklin Owusu-Ansah, pledged his support and commitment to helping the caterers overcome their challenges.
Reliance on relatives in providing quality meals, especially when patients are hospitalized, has been a challenge for healthcare providers. And I want to believe we are in to make sure this becomes thing of the past. I am therefore challenging the association and all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the services are decentralized and managed well.
Secretary General of TUC, Joshua Ansam, appealed to the government to allocate funding specifically to support caterers in public health institutions.
I'm aware of the challenges you face, including limited resources, inadequate infrastructure, and the need for capacity building. However, I also recognize the opportunities that exist for growth, innovation, and collaboration.
Well, that's how we end today's edition of Weekend Central, Palm Sunday edition.
Yeah.
For more news updates, just log on to our website, it's 3news.com. Also follow us on Instagram, TV3.gh for more news updates. My name is George Quenin.
And I am Judith Brown. A pleasure coming to you. Always have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.